This is what it looks like when your Freightliner throws up in your living room. Yeah, to say that this gives me a little bit of anxiety is kind of an understatement, but it was moving day today and this is where we're at. Mind you, I live in a studio, so this is a lot of the space that I have, and I'm in transition, I'm in flux. It's always a very uncomfortable period of time for me, and it's going to be ongoing because of the training period that I'm about to enter into. It's going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to be living in and out of a hotel pretty far away from home, I believe, but it's going to be worth it. So I'm just going to press through the discomfort, because one of the things I've learned in life is that good things come from pushing through discomfort. So that's what I'm depending on. That's the mantra that I'm giving myself. I will be fine. And every time you're going through stressful periods of time, you look back on them and they feel much smaller and like shorter in duration than they felt at the time. So that's what I'm going with. I'm bawling. I have no idea who Ainsley was that this public art piece is dedicated to, but I'm just so touched, and it's just this beautiful crochet. Somebody put some sprigs of lavender in it here. So beautiful. And they put it over, an existing piece of public art. And there's some on the trees around here. Let's see, am I pointing in the right direction? I don't know. And on this tree over here, it's just, it speaks to what a beautiful community this is, that you could have something like this. And I hope it's been up for a bit and hasn't been messed with. And it's just, what a beautiful gesture. Hello, my friends. So let's see, I'm not sure where exactly this is gonna be put into the video that I'm currently editing, but this video is gonna be a little bit disjointed because I started filming, or some of the film that I took that's in the beginning was the first day of my last week at GP Transco. So I did leave there, which I sort of hinted was in the works in the previous video, and I'm not going to say a ton in this video about that. I'll just give a little bit of a recap, but if you watch the previous video, then and videos before that, then you'll have a good idea of why I decided it was time to head out of there. There's a little bit of background noise here because I'm in a hotel that is kind of busy, and there's housekeeping outside my door, and there's I'm right by the highway, so you'll hear some noise maybe, but no big deal. So I am super stoked to tell you guys about the latest that's going on in my trucking career. I know it's crazy. It might seem crazy to some people that I have changed jobs so many times in the last 2 years that I've been a trucker, but I have been determined that entire time to find a place that's the right fit for me, and find a place that I feel is worth the investment that I'm putting into this. I've been thinking about this, about how things come across that I say in my videos. I always think about that, and also feedback that I receive from people. I always want to make sure that viewers understand so much of what I'm trying to do by doing YouTube is not about me venting or being like, I'm gonna tell everybody about how this company is bad or anything like that. That is 100% not the type of vibe that I'm trying to give to you as a viewer. What I really want to do is, going back to sort of my journalism roots, I want to help people who, especially people who are not part of the industry, but who are we're all consumers. So I want people to understand what goes into making sure that when you go to the store, the things that you want to buy are on the shelves, and we're all participating with the trucking industry, whether we know it or not. So I just want people to be aware of like what goes on behind the scenes, and that's kind of more my motivation. And I also have a deeper concern for the rights of workers and for the labor movement overall. And so I want to share this little window, this sort of smaller perspective, just one person's perspective on what it's like to be a part of this industry and be new in it. But what's interesting is when I talk to more seasoned drivers, like I was talking with the trainer at my new job, which I'll get into in a minute, about their experiences, I realize why some people might be rubbed the wrong way by some of the stuff that I've said, because they're people who have really been in some shit in this industry. They've really experienced the sides of this industry that some of us who are newer in it haven't necessarily had to deal with, like working for companies that never send you home. They say that they're gonna get you home, and they say that they're going to do this and that, and it's like so much worse than they say it's going to be, and there's so much dishonesty from the beginning, and it stays like that. And drivers, talking about working for 20 some cents an hour or way less than that, 20 years ago or prior to that, people have dealt with some really hard stuff that I haven't had to deal with. I've dealt with some stuff that in the industry in the time I've been in it that to me seems unethical, but that's because I'm coming from a perspective where my expectations, I guess, might be different. I just want to make that clear. I never want to be like coming on here and being hyper negative or anything like that. It's more like I think that all of us doing hard jobs, whether it's in the trucking industry or industries that support trucking, like people working in warehouses or people working in these big box stores or anything, I want us all to have fair treatment. I think that that's something that we all deserve. Getting back to just briefly, I left GP because I felt like, whether it was intentional or not, I felt like there wasn't accurate communication happening at GP, and it was really frustrating to me to feel like I couldn't get a straight answer from people. And my whole thing in my work life is I don't mind if I'm not necessarily going to be upset if things aren't going my way, but I just want to know. I want things to be clear. I don't want things to be sort of iffy. I felt like I could not get that there, especially weekends. Forget it. You're basically feeling like you don't have support on the weekends, and I think that's pretty true of a lot of different trucking companies, so I'm not saying that's just them. And the other thing is there's just a ton of downtime. There's a lot of unpaid time that you're stuck in the truck and you're just sitting somewhere. There's these unpaid 34-hour resets that actually are more like 46-hour resets, and it was starting to be more of an issue. And I can't really speak to whether that was specific to the fact that I had, the dispatcher that I had. I don't really know for sure. And that is another issue. Was I had like five dispatchers in the time that I worked there. 2 of the dispatchers were people that I asked to switch from because it was clear to me that they were not experienced enough to meet the needs that I felt like I had. You can tell I'm being as diplomatic as I can here because I'm not trying to be mean about, whatever. Anyway, and then I had one that I absolutely loved, and he ended up leaving the company like right after I started working with him. That was a real bummer. I thought he was awesome. And then I had another one that I really liked, and they said he got promoted. I don't know if that's true or not, because I just started to feel like I don't know if I can take anyone's word, and that's just not a good feeling when this is the thing. Inaccuracy in communication, let's say. I'm trying my best to not be accusatory because I really don't know. I genuinely don't know if these things have been intentional or not. But in any workplace, it's frustrating, right? But when the workplace is your home also, and you are far away from home much of the time, that's when it's different. That's when it becomes more of an issue to me. So yeah, I felt kind of like floating, like, is anybody out there? No, they're not. So that was rough. They drove a hard bargain to try to get me to stay. And I, again, even if I had been considering staying on, which at that point I was already set on pursuing the opportunity that I ended up taking. But if I had wanted to stay, I wouldn't have felt like what they were telling me was reliable, because it just got to a point where this is a thing when companies don't provide you with accurate communication, then it creates this sort of crying wolf effect where you don't know if you can take what they say as true. And that's just not something that you can go forward with and trust. So here's what I would say. I think overall, like my overall review is, I think GP Transco is a pretty average trucking company in a lot of ways. I think they have excellent equipment, beautiful trucks, especially they're getting a lot of really nice new trucks in. Oh, and that's the other thing too, is I didn't want to leave when I did leave, but I kind of had to, because that week they were about to put me in a brand new truck, and I knew it wouldn't make sense to move into the new truck and then leave, and also like, you know, let another driver get the brand new truck first. You know, I mean, it wouldn't make sense logistically. So I left a few days earlier than I might have, or a week earlier or something. So I had a long period of downtime, which was a bit too long. Yeah, they have awesome trucks. I really like their trucks. That to me is like a huge selling point. I believe that they are hiring people with less experience now than they did in the past. I heard somewhere it was 6 months. I can't quote that because I'm not totally sure on that. So you would have to speak to a recruiter to find that out if you're interested in working for them. I don't think that they're a terrible company. I think they're pretty average. And I don't think that's like a harsh criticism. I just think that's more, a lot of people in my orientation reported that they heard about GP through YouTube, because GP does make a strong effort to promote themselves through YouTube. And I think it's important for any prospective drivers to be aware that there's a big difference between hearing from a person who actually works for a company and someone who is a paid promoter of the company. So, you know, talk to different people if you're interested in working for them, or listen to there's different people who work for them who do YouTube. So, you know, you don't just listen to me. I'm only one person, and I'm kind of critical. I'm a pretty critical person. I'll be the first person to admit that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I don't feel like I need to, I'm already feel like I'm harping. Stop harping. I actually found out about, oh, the sun is like, whew, suddenly started shining in my face. Okay, there's a cloud. I was having a conversation with someone I met at the company who's a friend, who's like someone I think of as a friend now, and who actually had set me up with the awesome dispatcher who ended up leaving, unfortunately, but stayed in touch with this other driver. And he's the person that told me about Gemini transport. And I would never have imagined that I would think about doing fuel hauling, because I was really intimidated by the idea of doing tanker. But I had already kind of, for the last year or so, been thinking, why not? Why can't I do that? Why can't I do anything? I think especially doing flatbed, oh God, the sun. Come on, clouds, help me out here. Oof, it's bright. Might have to pull that closed. Had to dim that light a little bit because it's burning my eyeballs. Here it comes again. Here comes the sun. Okay. So yeah, I had been thinking about doing tanker. Doing flatbedding is such a cool way to increase your confidence as a driver. And I would tell anybody who is interested in trucking or new at it, don't be afraid to try something like flatbedding if you think that you can hang. You need to be someone who is very comfortable being in the elements. You don't have to tarp. There's a lot of non-tarping flatbed jobs, and that's for me. I'm not trying to do tarping. I'm not a big person, and I'm not a super strong person, and there are people who are smaller than me that do tarping and do flatbedding, and they're fine with it, but it's just not something I wanted to do, and that's fine. You got to find what works for you. But if you really want to, especially if you're a very physical person and you want to do trucking, but you don't want to see yourself like get out of shape, you don't want to never be outside, you're seeing the outdoors while you're in your truck, but there's a big difference between that and actually being outside. If you're a person who's not afraid of getting rained on or snowed on or having dust blowing in your face, and you like the sort of like toughness that comes with that, then I totally would do flatbedding. And I still daydream about it. I'm like, someday, man, someday, because I just loved it so much. But it built my confidence in a way that let me know, like, if you can handle securement, doing securement has a fear factor to it. It's one of those things where you're driving after you've secured a load and your brain is like, did I forget something? There's like these little thoughts that go through your head that you have to like trust yourself, and you have to really be thorough, and there's so much risk involved. And tanker has certain similarities with that, where there's, if you're hauling liquids, if you're hauling hazardous liquids, you have to be diligent and thorough, and you have to trust yourself. You have to be methodical and know that you're going to go through a process, and you're going to double check your work, and you're going to ask questions when you need to, and you're going to make sure that you have the information you need before you set out on the road. So you know, after having enough experience under my belt, I realized, you know what, I can do this. I can, why not? The person who I was talking to that told me about Gemini, he was like, just look him up on YouTube. And that's what I did. And maybe I'll throw a link to the video that I watched if I can find it in the comment or in the description of this video. But it was a video featuring a also newer driver with Gemini. Her name's Donna, and I liked the way she talked about it right away. I thought she made it sound so accessible, and she's someone who had worked as a flight attendant for a long time, and I was like, okay, she's a kindred spirit, because I was in the service industry for a long time. Flight attendants deserve all the respect in the world. It's a super hard job, and especially these days, some of the things they have to deal with are completely insane. I was like, okay, she's one of those people that she comes across as really like mild and like a mellow person and whatever, but she's tough as nails, I guarantee it. And I was like, if she can do it, I can definitely do it. And the way she talked about the job, the way she described it, I was like, I can see myself doing that. And then when I learned about the earning potential of this job and the fact that it pays by the hour, not by the mile, and the fact that you're getting paid every hour that you're on the clock, I was like, sign me up. So I right away started looking into it, and here I am. The rest is history, as they say. It was quite a process, so I'll just tell you, if you're someone who's interested in doing hazmat, the first thing you need to do is you need to go online and find a training program that, I guess there are free ones, but I would probably do one of the ones that you pay for, because they give you like a guarantee that you'll pass the test, and I did on the first try. You have to complete the training program online. At least, I don't know if it's different by state, but in the state of Illinois, you have to complete this online training, and then they send verification to the state, and that enables you to then get your fingerprints done through TSA, and that takes time to process. So what I would tell you is, your best bet, if you want to do one of these fuel hauling or maybe another hazmat job that you know is a better paying job within trucking, I would take care of those things before you apply, because then you're going to be a shoo-in, assuming that you have a very solid driving record. You can't have tickets and stuff like that on your record, at least not anytime recently, because they are much more strict with their standards in hazmat, which is something that should go without saying, right? So you get the program online. If I can find a link to the one that I did, I'll share it. It's like drivingtests.com or something like that. I paid for the one that was like $100. I believe I will get reimbursed for that, actually. I did the videos. You watch a bunch of videos, you do a bunch of practice tests. I spent some time working on those until I passed all the tests with 100%. It's a really user-friendly system that allows you to go back and just test yourself on the questions that you missed, so you can make sure that you have them correct. There were still some questions on the DMV's hazmat test that were worded a little differently, one or two, but it wasn't too bad. The tanker test is easy. It's more the hazmat that you have to study more for. Tanker is, if you've been trucking already, the tanker endorsement test is not going to be rocket science. It's more like common sense to be able to pass it. Not that you shouldn't study. I also tried to take the doubles and triples endorsement on the advice of my friend Ray. Hi, Ray. Just in case, even though I have no desire to do doubles and triples, and I've been saying that, but he's like, just get it, just do it. And I didn't study for it at all, and there were some weird terms I had never heard, so I almost passed it. I missed by one question. And then my freaking CDL is expiring in a couple of months on my birthday, so I have to go through this stuff again to renew my CDL. And I was like, I just did all this, but you know, them's the breaks, as they say. So I am stoked. It was a process to get myself hired at this job, but I am so grateful. The other thing that I'm really happy about is this is a great company to work for. I can already tell. I absolutely love my trainer. And what I'm excited about is having a lot of time working with a trainer. I'll be training for 3 to 5 weeks in the truck with a trainer, which sounds like a long time, I know, but when you're doing something you've never done before, and it's something as sensitive as fuel hauling, obviously I'm fine with having someone working with me for that duration. Not to mention, the pay that I'm receiving as a trainee is the same as the pay I'll be receiving as a driver full-time. And I am driving and I am doing the work, and so I'm earning my pay, but it's amazing. It's such a far cry from so many trainings that I've been to where it's like, oh, we pay $300 a week, we pay $400 a week or whatever. They pay you maybe half of what you'll be earning-ish, depending on what you'll be earning. Obviously, that's a mixed bag. But, you know, so your training period feels like this oh God, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills for a couple of weeks or for a month. I'm going to have to, you know, it's a stressful thing. And it's like when you're training to do a job, this company is taking you on, you shouldn't have to feel like it's putting you in a hole, you know, which is what happens a lot of the time. So yeah, I'm going to be working with a trainer, and he's already, after the first day I just rode along and watched him do everything. And then after that, I've been driving and I've been doing everything, and he's walking me through the steps and trying to help me remember the steps that I need to take. And the downside of me doing this job is I'm not going to be able to share a lot of the action shots that I would have shown in the past, because what I do is much more sensitive and there are a lot more rules around that, which I'm sure you can understand. So I apologize in advance, because I think I think these things are really interesting and I would love to be able to show more of it, but I just can't. So it is what it is. I'm going to be very cautious and judicious with how I use YouTube, because this job is really important to me and I'm really incredibly grateful for it, and I'm not going to do anything to mess it up. I'll tell you right now. My trainer is awesome. He's been driving for over 20 years. We're kind of close in age. We have a lot of interesting things in common, so we have a great time having conversations, but more importantly, he is such a good teacher, and that to me is like gold, Jerry. Sorry, it's a cheesy reference. Working with someone when you're learning new things, and it's intimidating, because of course I was a little nervous. I'm, you know, going into my first day, and you never know how you're going to get along. You have to ride in a truck for a lot of hours with another person. You don't know how it's going to go. This guy is such a professional. He's so, I was a personal trainer for 9 years, so teaching is something I understand, and the nuances and what makes a better instructor versus a less effective instructor. And he is great because he understands the best way to help a person learn. He's very mild in his temperament. He's very calm. It's awesome. And when he corrects you on something, the way that he corrects you is just respectful and helpful, because the way that an instructor corrects you on something can really impact the way that your energy going forward, your fear or your confidence. And he's the type of instructor that is great at instilling confidence and helping you feel comfortable asking questions and never feeling like, you know, you're going to do something stupid. The other thing, like one thing I love that he says is, he's like, I'll never let you do anything that's going to hurt anyone or mess up anything. I'm going to try to let you do as much as you can, and I'll correct you if I need to, but I'm going to try to, like, he's sort of trying his best to not do things for me, because that's super important when you're learning something like this. You need to do it yourself, but he's not going to let me make any serious mistakes. So I did do one thing my first day doing it on my own. I pulled a lever I wasn't supposed to pull at the wrong time, and it spilled a little bit of diesel on the ground, a very small amount. And it's like, okay, that's a good thing that I did it at that time, because that's when you want to make that mistake, not, you know, I don't want to make that mistake at a time when it would have been much worse. It was super minor. It was nothing. So this is the first time in the 2 years that I've been trucking that I feel totally confident that I am going to earn a very healthy income, to say the least. You guys know I don't like talking about money. It makes me really uncomfortable. I think it's gross. It can be really gross. It's just not how I approach things. But I just want to say that, you know, if you're looking to have a lucrative trucking job, there aren't a lot of them out there. I mean, there are some. I don't know what I'm trying to say, because there are so many that are not. Let's put it that way. Fuel hauling is definitely a great option. I would definitely recommend applying at Gemini. Before you do, though, I would tell you, if you don't have the hazmat and tanker endorsements, I would recommend taking care of that stuff first, because it will just make your hiring process that much better. And these jobs probably are fairly competitive, so you want to come in and show them, like, I'm ready to roll, like, put me in training, do my background checks, let's go, come on. Also, what's really cool is they supply a lot of uniform clothing. They pay for everything. I did have to get myself some steel-toed, chemical resistant, oil resistant boots, and the ones I found were awesome. I'm really glad I found those. They're super comfortable, and they look like more like athletic shoes, and they're not heavy. I have another pair of steel toes that are made by Doc Martens, the work line of boots they have, and I can't wear them. They're so heavy. They cause me pain in my hips because I'm old. No, I'm just kidding. I just want to say that I think this is an amazing opportunity. I am going to see my income significantly increase. and I'm going to be working my ass off. I'm going to be working a ton of hours, but I'm going to be getting paid for the hours that I work. I'm also want to say I'm going to be part of a sleeper fleet that is within Gemini. So Gemini has a lot of local drivers, but they also have people on a sleeper fleet that goes wherever there is more need. So that fleet is responsible for going to places ahead of natural disasters and making sure that they are fully supplied with fuel. That to me is amazing. I love the idea of being part of something that is necessary, and not that any trucking isn't necessary, but this is a little bit more specialized, and I know that what I'm doing is really needed, and that makes me feel really good. So there's more I want to say, but this is so long already, I'm gonna have to edit it down. But I'm excited, and I will keep you guys posted, and thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.